Hello folks, GWT here. I want to mention a couple of things to you. You folks want to argue and question with a person who's telling you the truth and not question the lying government cultist who you treat as your gods. Now, if you were trying to tell somebody else something that you felt like you knew something about, let's say there was a topic of cleaning and reusing spark plugs for a combustion engine or something, and let's say that you looked at 10 videos about spark plugs and reusing spark plugs, and then you wanted to tell somebody who had never looked at a video, who had just merely heard the term spark plugs and vaguely recollects what that means, and you start to tell them something that you've learned from watching 10 videos, and then they tell you, they want to argue and tell you you don't know what you're talking about, and they know more than you when they've never looked at any information on it at all. That's what truthers are going through. The flat earthers, that's what they're going through. Everybody wants to argue with them with rhetorical questions. They just want to argue, and it's because people are too lazy to sit and watch a video. When I sit and watch a video that's an hour long or 2 hours long, I just sat and watched a video that was 5.5 hours long, and it was about the Iron Republic, which I have mentioned to y'all a number of times, and a voyage in the mid to later 1800s, and other people had done the same thing. This person happened to write a book about it. They found a crack in the ice wall of the South Pole that surrounds the intercontinents that we live on, that Putin lives on, and they went through it and they found another continent on the other side of that ice wall and a vast, vast ocean. And they talked to people, humans just like us, who knows about America and South America and Africa and Asia, but they don't want any part of it. They know what's going on in this inter-realm inside the bordered South Pole or Antarctica, which encircles our continents. They don't want any part of this. They have a whole new way, and they get along and they work together. So they don't want any part of continents and governments who keep everybody arguing and disillusioned and lying to them and deceiving them and keep them fighting amongst themselves, so they never unite and they never get rid of the bad guys who's causing the problems. They want to get rid of the truthers and the good people who's trying to point out what the bad people are doing. And y'all want to argue with the few. There ain't very many truthers on YouTube. There's a lot of people that use the word truth in their channel title, but they're not really truthers. Either that, or the ones that I've been seeing that call themselves truthers, they look at one video and then that makes them an authority on something, because they're not telling y'all the real dirt. And I've been telling y'all this with my videos constantly and repeatedly for years. These people that y'all look up to and you send them money and everything, they're not telling you the whole truth. They're not telling you what they know. They're making money off you, deceiving you, just like the government is, and all of their armies that keep you in line so you won't question. The Greeks, the Masons, and the Jesuits, from the Greeks, there was a man named Ptolemy. Ptolemy was a writer and a little bit of an astronomer and stuff, and he knew the earth was flat. Then along came, about 500 or 600 BC, along came Pythagoras, who started saying we live on a round spinning globe. Then Plato said the same thing. Then Aristotle said the same thing. Then Copernicus said the same thing. Then Eratosthenes, it's Aratosthenes, Eratosthenes, he said we lived on a round earth. Then Copernicus, of course, in 1540s and 1550s, he was a government man, a Mason. He said we lived on a round earth. Then Galileo, 1609 to 1610. He said Jupiter was a gazillion miles away, and he discovered moons, 3 moons circling Jupiter, and he theorized how the Earth's tides work. Then Isaac Newton, he come along with gravity in 1797. Then Henry Cavendish, a Mason who proves gravity. Then we got NASA. We got Leon, 1851. Got Leon of occult, and the pendulum that would never work on a round spinning ball. But yet, this is around the mid-1900s. Got Coriolis with the Coriolis effect, and it's brainwashing. That's what that Coriolis effect is. It's mass brainwashing. And then about kinetic or kite energy and the spinning earth ball. And then, folks, these people are world-renowned, respected names, and they're all a bunch of pathological liars and deceivers who make a fool out of you and get you to pay for it at the same time. And then they got armies that is not going to let you bitch or complain once you find out that you've been robbed and taught a bunch of crap. They're just bossing you all the way around. You're less than an animal. Around the 19th century, Samuel Rothbottom had a book called Earth, Not a Globe. In 1864, this book was written, Earth, Not a Globe. And everybody's just ignoring it all. You're not paying attention to any bit of it. Then NASA spent over $30 billion to go to the moon, and then lost all of the tapes and all the recordings and all of the pictures. Now this is a fact, NASA spent $30 billion to go to the moon and lost all the records. Imagine that. You see, folks, these few who have their protection, and they have a number of armies to make sure that they're protected, which is, these people are the real problem to begin with. These liars and deceivers and thieves and murderers with their armies, they are the problem to begin with. You don't begin with arguing with people, you begin with the problem. You've got to stop the ones who are stopping you. They are treating the humans of humanity with much disgust and maltreatment, inhumane and mass systems of genocide. Imagine a horrible person whose dog or animal goes without water and food, and goes without health care, goes without protection, goes without friendship, and is even confined in the middle of all of that, or isolated and confined. And one day you awake and you realize the past to the present, and if both are understood by you, it will show you the future. The future of chemtrails, the future of electromagnetic frequencies, the future of consumption of government chemicals from everything you consume. Mind control over mass geographical areas using frequencies, fluoride, and the elites have overpowered our common sense and our intuition, and they don't care one daggone bit about us, like a neighbor who doesn't care about an animal that he's got on a chain or in a pen somewhere, and he will feed it whenever the notion strikes him. Folks, the elites, when I said that they have overpowered our common sense and our intuition, they have robbed us of our ability for abstract, for logical, and for critical thinking. We don't do it anymore. And the ones of us that do, you want to argue with us that we're crazy, we don't know what we're talking about, because we think and you don't. They use calculations, and we are seduced with intentional lies purposed and proposed to us as theories by these who are, created celebrities and actors that make you blind, deaf, and dumb. Just a mention of the flat earth actually being flat and not a round spinning globe should be enough to awaken anybody that has just an average intellect. Your logical and critical thinking should awaken you to that right there with no problem. Hey folks, GWT here, Wes Trutherst channel. Between 90 BC and 168 AD, everybody there was no debate about the earth being round or being flat. Just wasn't any debate. But along about that time, a man lived and his name was Ptolemy. Not much is said about him today, but Ptolemy said in the or in the latter part of the 1st century and into the 2nd century, he said that we lived on a listen to me now, planisphaerium. Planisphaerium. Now that means we live on a plane that is in a sphere. A spherium. Okay? And he wrote to the peoples. He wrote books of enlightenment, books with maps, or with a map or two of flat earth or a flat pictured earth. He wrote about the geography of the world. He wrote about the mathematics of the heavens and the catalog of the stars and their repeated patterns of movement. The book, the Almagest, A-L-M-A-G-E-S-T. This is near 150 AD when Rome controlled any part of the world that their armies could reach. See, that's kind of like the U.S. And it's nearly, it's all of the wars that it started across the breadth of the earth, and that's B-R-E-A-T-H, a biblical word. It means plateau or plateaus or plain. That's what it means. And I posted 2 videos that you folks must see. You must see them both, and you must add them to your libraries, and you must tell other people about these videos. Those who believe themselves smart enough and strong enough to create a globe construct lie in the 1st and 2nd centuries, and they make folly of innocent humanities, and they have done it ever since they started creating the globe construct lie. You need to get together, folks, and you need to give these creeps an attitude adjustment. And that's what they need, is an attitude adjustment. I mentioned in another video that I might be ADHD. Well, I ain't even 100% sure exactly what that means. But I have an unusual sense of fairness, of what's fair, of what's honest, of sincerity, equality, truth, and justice. And the uprightness and righteousness are of truth and justice, folks, and that's what's going on. And take other species outside of the encircling ice wall, they are smart. They're very smart. There are other species that lives on this earth under the dome with us on the other side of that ice wall. Take Antarctica. A guy, Dr. Johnson, said or wrote one time that he who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. Now this guy, Dr. Johnson, said, he who makes a beast of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. That's a strange phrase of words to be made a popular statement. Your critical thinking on man being renowned for his weaknesses, it's not a good thing. And a beast is a feared thing. Usually it's associated with a fear, being men fear beast. So men used to team together and combat any beast that came along. It is teamwork that is mankind. It is teamwork that is human, and some other intelligent and cooperative species may be outthinking mankind, because mankind don't put their heads together, and that's the more confident species, the ones who can work together of all the species. Humans are not the sharpest tools in the shed, so teamwork is not a strong point in the characteristics of humanities. A friend told me the other day, Robert Mark Geilhausen, he repeated something that he remembered from some lyrics in a song, and it said, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And he told me that Neil Barton Rush did an album called Hemispheres in 1978, and the song was Circumstance, that had that line in it about the more things change, the more they stay the same. I suggest to invite you to listen to the audiobook titled The Iron Republic. I'm not going to tell you to sit for 5 hours and a half and watch it like I did, because I was very disappointed when I got to the end, because the book started off telling about the voyage and the discovery, going through the ice wall, finding another continent across miles and miles of another ocean on the other side of the surrounding Antarctica ice wall. And then the book got off on like a love story. Well, the narrator I have heard narration that said that they believed that the book was going well, and then somebody made them change all the rest of the book, not to let too much information, not to let the cat out of the bag altogether. But if you look up the audiobook, The Iron Republic, and watch the first parts of it, it will describe something to your mind that will definitely get your attention. The Iron Republic, it's written by Richard Jameson Morgan for Florida Magazine, circa, C-I-R-C-A, in 1902. It's when it was published. The accounts are of a voyage in the 1800s, around 1860, to and through the ice wall of Antarctica and the Barrington Strait, which is that crack that was in the ice wall, and the explorer, named by the explorer and writer of the events. And it was witnessed by all that was aboard the ship, and the name of the ship was the Wanderer, and it came out of New York. And folks, the earth is flat, and people say, okay, what's the big deal? The big deal is that you've been lied to, and you've been deceived, and you've been made fools out of. You're being laughed at every stinking day of your life. You're being taken advantage of every day of your life, and you don't care. You just say, well, I'll just pay my share of the taxes, and I'll pay these outrageous prices for this so the corporations and their armies can stay in business and stay in ammunition and guns and everything, and I won't complain about anything. You're a problem for humanity, and you disgust me by not complaining and not bitching and not talking about what's going on and not caring about what's going on, and to be argumentative with people that know something about what's going on. You people that argue against that, you disgust me. And if it was olden days out in the boonies, no witnesses or nobody, I would put you down just as quick as I would these son of a bitchin' military and these government army bastards who want to keep everybody in check so nobody gets out of line. The bad guys are calling the shots, and their army is making sure that nobody does anything about whatever it is that they take a notion that they want to do. And that's because you're a bunch of chicken shit cowards. Maybe not all of you, but the majority of you are nothing more than chicken shit, stupid cowards. Of course, I'm not saying that everybody is a coward. Of course I'm not. And the people that view my channel and my videos, I really appreciate y'all. And I wonder sometimes, since y'all have supportive comments that you give me sometimes, I wonder if there are those among you who is running into the same thing that I'm running into. Now, some of you have said yes, that you do run into the same issues, But I wonder how many of you people that frequent my channel and approve of some of the stuff that I say and do. I wonder how many of y'all are out there beating the bushes. How many of y'all are really putting up a fight in your struggle to alert and to awake somebody else. You're not chicken shit if you're out there telling somebody about it, if you're talking about it. Doesn't mean you got to get a gun and go bang bang as soon as somebody comes within range. But spread the word. That's what you need to do. And people say, what's the significance of the flat earth? The flat earth is like a double Chinese slap up both sides of the face, like that old commercial. You're slapping people in the face when you wake them up and tell them the truth. Whatever they do with themselves once they're awake, that's on them. But this country should already have an army somewhere. Of course, people like me, as big as my mouth is, no one would ever tell me about it because they're afraid that I would get them all in trouble or get them caught. But if there was an army and I could get to it and it was against the government, I would join that baby in a heartbeat. I would join them. And my monthly income would go for the benefit of all of them, wherever I was hanging out, wherever I was at. But folks, nobody that I know of is doing anything about it other than playing with their court systems and playing with your money. They're going to get your money, and what they can't rob or sneak from you, they're going to do things, and then when you try to combat them on a legal basis, they're going to get your money through that. They got that all planned out. They make the laws. They know what they can use and what they can do with these laws. You have no chance. Your money don't matter. What matters is your attitude and what people know your attitude is, and who you talk to and what you say to them. That's when you're doing something. That's when you're not a coward and you're not chicken shit. It's when you're spreading the truth around and you're pointing out the people who only spread half-truths around. Those people need to be tended to. They need to be handled. Actually, they need to be ignored and shunned. People need to tell the whole truth and all of the truth. You can't trust people that tell half-truths, and you can't trust people that lie. Even little bitty lies. Your conscience knows you told a lie, and it was not going to let you forget it. Ever. Then you tell another one to cover that one up. You're just going on down in the hole. You're heading in the wrong direction, folks. This country needs some honor, and it needs honor among the people. And the people here who have honor, who are honorable people, they need to take action against the dishonorable people of this country. And I'm not talking about Mexicans who are starving and trying to sneak into a country where they can earn $1. And I'm not talking about people escaping their country who wants to kill them. I'm talking about the bad people in this country who's taking advantage of anybody and everybody in any way they can. They need to be dealt with, and dealt with harshly. If there's ever going to be any change, you're going to have weapons, and you're going to have to make it happen.